Empty blind date revealed to be life-changing after two amazing boys expose their billionaire dad. Emily walked into the bustling cafe, her nerves a tight coil in her chest. She'd been pushed into a blind date by her best friend, who insisted that a woman like her deserved to find some joy. Joy felt far away. Juggling two jobs to care for her ailing mother left little room for excitement. She squeezed the table's edge, feeling the weight of every pair of eyes that seemed to recognize her from the diner where she served coffee and comfort to Maplewood's finest. To her shock, the man sitting across from her was Jake, the town's star athlete from high school, the boy who made hearts flutter and eyebrows raise. His familiar smile was like a warm breeze on a chilly day. There was something genuine about his laughter, a melody infused with nostalgia. Next to him sat two boys, full of energy and charm, each wearing oversized shirts that hinted at just a touch of mischief. As they shared stories, their laughter echoed like a bomb against the worries in Emily's mind. In that moment, surrounded by smiles and dreams, the weight began to lift, replaced by an unexpected lightness. Yet, the moment was shattered when the boys began flaunting the glittering image of their father, a reclusive billionaire who had turned his back on the community that once embraced him. Their innocent chatter brought forth feelings Emily struggled to reconcile: jealousy, confusion, anger. How could they be so carefree when their father abandoned everything Maplewood stood for? The warmth of connection began to sour into a question that made her stomach churn: was it worth the sacrifice to be part of something greater? Suddenly, the comfortable laughter faded, replaced by a heavy silence that filled the cafe. Emily's heart raced as she considered the tension in the air, a defined fork in her path. Just then, her phone buzzed urgently. It was a call from the community center. An emergency had arisen, one that threatened to disrupt the very fabric of the place she held dear, her sanctuary. Emily felt her heart pounding in her ears. She had to act, her community needed her. Glancing at Jake, something clicked: this wasn't just a chance to escape her troubles. This was an opportunity to show her strength, to stand up for the place she loved. When she confronted the boy's father at the community center, he stood there like a ghost from the past, his presence both haunting and compelling. "You don't know what it's like to lose everything," she exclaimed, the words bursting from her like the dam of emotions she had been holding back. The billionaire's eyes clouded over with guilt as he faced the weight of her anger. In that moment, Emily realized this confrontation was bigger than her own struggles. It was about the community fighting to keep what they had, even in the face of betrayal. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Emily's words hung in the air, a flicker of hope ignited within her. Would confronting the past lead to healing, or would it sever her ties to Maplewood forever? Standing at the crossroads of ambition and loyalty, Emily faced a decision that could reshape her life and the very spirit of her community. Would she embrace the allure of wealth, or defend her home and all the love that came with it? The answers lay just out of reach, leaving her breathless and eager for what would come next. Emily stepped back, her heart still racing. The air in the community center felt thick with emotion. Confusion, anger, and urgency flowed like an unbroken river. She couldn't ignore the stirrings deep within her. The billionaire, with his polished smile and air of indifference, had been a ghost, but now he felt more human, more flawed. He fidgeted under her gaze, just a man meeting the weight of his past. "What do you want from me?" His voice trembled slightly, betraying the composure he usually displayed. It hurt to see him vulnerable, yet invigorating to know his walls were not as unyielding as they seemed. "I have moved on. I've done my best." "You call this your best?" Emily shot back, emotion bubbling up once more, angry and fierce. You left us when we needed you. You took everything, and now the place that raised you is crumbling. I'm not asking you for charity, I'm demanding you step up." The silence that felt almost suffocating. The boys standing behind their father shifted, their gazes flicking between him and Emily, uncertainty replacing earlier confidence. Emily caught their wide eyes. In that instant, she understood how deeply intertwined they all were. Even with a father missing in action, their lives were shaped by that absence. "Maybe it's too late to bring back what was lost," the billionaire finally spoke, his voice softer now, almost pleading. "But I could help. I could donate, perhaps." "Money?" Emily shook her head in disbelief. "You think a check can mend broken relationships and a fractured community? What we need is you. We need you to remember who we are, not just what you can throw at us." She stood firm, feeling the strength of her words galvanize the room. Behind her, members of the community, whom she had served with years of devotion, started gathering. Their silent support became a shield, bolstering her courage. Murmurs of agreement propelled her forward. "People can change," one of the community volunteers spoke up, offering a voice to the hesitant crowd. "But he must want it. You have been away, but we are still here, waiting just as we always were. We can build this back together." For the first time, Emily noticed a flicker of recognition from the billionaire. Perhaps a memory sparked a late-night gathering, warm laughter, and the taste of sweet potato pie that his mother had baked for every community award ceremony. It might be rusty, but she saw a glimmer of longing in his eyes. "Fine," he replied finally, a reluctant admission that flowed like a rusty faucet. "What do I need to do?" The boys cheered softly behind him, their hopeful faces lighting up with possibility. Emily exhaled slowly, a breath she didn't know she had been holding. Could this be the turning point? Just maybe, this confrontation would reforge a bond between Maplewood and its lost child. "Let us start with a clean slate," she said, her voice steadying. "We can plan a community event. Something to bring people together and remind you of what you left behind. If you truly want to help, be present. Be part of us again." He nodded, slowly. "I will try." As discussions began, Emily's heart soared. The potential was so bright, almost blinding. But was it really possible for a broken past to stitch itself back together? Would this man truly grasp the weight of his actions, or was this just another fleeting moment? The air buzzed with ideas and the scent of hope. But amid the excitement, doubt flickered in Emily's mind. What if he couldn't follow through? What if they all ended up heartbroken again? As the meeting drew on, she felt a whisper of anticipation, yet caution pulled at her heartstrings. Change was coming, but its outcome remained uncertain. Would this journey of reconciliation lead to healing, or would it fall apart at the first challenge? Emily took a deep breath, glancing at the smiling boys. They were so full of light. Then she spotted Jake, his supportive gaze reassuring. With each step forward, her heart was both hopeful and heavy. The path ahead was winding and full of shadows, but maybe, just maybe, they could come together and build something beautiful out of the past. All that remained was to find out if the billionaire could become a part of that. The next few weeks would hold the answers. Would he truly commit to making things right? Or was this just an illusion of hope that would crumble under pressure? The sun streamed through the community center windows, creating puddles of light that danced on the old wooden floor. Emily sat at a table, surrounded by familiar faces. The air felt lighter, charged with excitement and nervous energy. The planning committee had come together to brainstorm the big event, and there was a collective sense of hope that it might really mark a new beginning. "What about a barbecue?" one of the volunteers suggested, her eyes sparkling. "Or a talent show?" Another chimed in, the corners of her mouth curving into a wide smile. "We could showcase the kids' art and music." Emily felt her heart swell. They were catching fire, fueled by the promise of what could be, each idea sparking more enthusiasm. The boys giggled while doodling on a piece of paper, their creative energy infecting the room like wildfire. "Let us make it something unforgettable," Emily encouraged, her voice rising amidst the buzz. The thought of including the billionaire felt daunting, but she couldn't ignore the flicker of determination building in her chest. If they were to truly reconcile, they needed to lean into this. As ideas flew around the table, she stole a glance at the boys. Sam, with bright red hair and an infectious grin, was doodling superheroes. The younger brother, Max, tapping his fingers on the table to an imagined beat, seemed lost in his own world of dreams. They represented hope, innocence boundless by their father's shadow. Could their laughter be the bridge built between him and the past? "Do you think he'll actually show up?" Max whispered to Emily, wide-eyed. His little voice was a reminder of the countless times the community had waited for the billionaire to return, for him to understand who they were. "I think he will," she replied, her heart racing with a mix of optimism and fear. "But is he really different now?" Sam asked, worry furrowing his brow. "That's the question, isn't it?" Emily murmured, her own doubt creeping back in. She needed to believe what she was saying. The stakes felt impossibly high, they weren't merely mending fences, they were building a new foundation. As the week wore on, anticipation turned to anxiety. Emily found herself replaying their last encounter in her mind, dissecting each word as if it were a sacred mantra. What if he wanted to turn it all down? What if he changed his mind? Then, the day arrived. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over Maplewood. Parents and children wandered into the community center, laughter echoing as tables filled with food and crafts took shape. Emily paced, halting at the entrance every time she heard footsteps. She stole cautious glances at the door, waiting for him to walk in, holding her breath at the thought. As the event unfolded, a wonder began to weave through the crowd, old friends hugging tightly, children darting about gleefully, all while Emily held on to the underlying current of anxiety. Would he come? And then, like a ripple breaking through the tension, he appeared. All at once, silence fell in the room as eyes turned toward the entrance. He stood for a moment, scanning the space, before meeting Emily's gaze. She felt the full weight of those years, the distance, the pain, but also the flicker of hope ignited by the boys who had intertwined their lives with his. "Let us do this," she thought to herself, her spirit lifting. As he began to step forward, their eyes locked, sharing unspoken words laden with potential. But would he truly embrace this moment? The crowd held its breath, and so did Emily. All that remained was the knowledge that they were on the brink of something monumental, with vulnerable hearts laid bare. Would the billionaire take his chance? Or would he retreat again, leaving the community with yet another broken promise? The moment of truth loomed ahead, ready to transform them all. The room buzzed with a mix of expectation and disbelief, everyone frozen in that brief moment as he moved closer. Emily's heart raced, a cacophony of hope and fear battling inside her. She tried to maintain a brave face, but the raw memories flooded in years of anger, disappointment, and longing. He stepped forward, his expression a blend of uncertainty and regrets. Underneath the surface, she could see the man he might be if only he could shake off the weight of the past. "Hello, everyone," he called out, his voice steadying. It reverberated off the community center walls, breaking the spell. Slowly, murmurs erupted once more, couples exchanging glances, unsure of what to make of him being there. Max tugged at Emily's arm, wide-eyed. "Is he really back?" he whispered, excitement lacing his words. Sam's fingers fidgeted at his side, both boys seemed to hold their breath. "Let us give him a chance," she whispered back, forcing a smile, but inside, doubt gnawed at her. Did they truly know who he was now? The community was divided, some folks openly welcoming him, while others clung to their reservations. They had invested so much time hoping for change, their lives had been woven tightly together in dreams of what family could be. He seemed to sense the tension, and for a moment, he took a deep breath as if bracing himself. I want to be here for my sons and for all of you, he said, addressing those gathered. I know I haven't been the father or the person you needed me to be. But today, I want to change that. The crowd shifted, whispers circulating like brushfire. Emily clutched the edge of the table. Was he truly committed? Could he back up his words? Max stepped forward, his small figure emboldened by innocence. Can you do more fun stuff with us now? He asked, eyes shining with hope. A flicker of warmth crossed the billionaire's face. I'd love to. What do you have in mind? Sam, catching on, beamed. We could play soccer. And, maybe you could help us with the talent show? I'm learning to juggle. Laughter erupted, and the ice began to crack. Emily felt her breath hitch at the hint of something shifting in the air. It was the first volley, a moment that could hold promise for something deeper, for healing. As conversations swirled, children dashed off to enjoy the activities scattered around the hall. A father and his boys. The very image that tugged at her heart. She felt tears prick her eyes. This wasn't perfect. There was still so much to unravel. But hadn't they all fought through worse? This new chapter beckoned to be written, not just for the boys but for the community that had waited so painfully long for this opportunity. Emily stepped forward, ready to approach him. Maybe they could truly take this leap together. Maybe he was ready to rebuild. And then, as she reached him, she hesitated, uncertain. Are you really going to be a part of their lives this time? He met her gaze, vulnerability reflected in his eyes. I want to be. I have so much to prove. Just give me a chance. Before she could respond, a sudden commotion drew their attention. A loud crash echoed from outside. The laughter turned to concerned murmurs, and in an instant, everyone looked toward the door. What now? With a sinking feeling, Emily's heart raced again. Outside, chaos was brewing, and she couldn't shake the feeling that this wouldn't be the only challenge they faced. Would this day bring them closer or push them further apart? As they all rushed toward the doors, she wondered if their hopes would withstand the test. The doors swung open, and a gust of wind rushed into the community center, flapping paper and sending a chill through the crowd. Emily squinted through the bright sunlight, trying to make sense of the commotion. Outside, several children had gathered around something on the ground, their voices rising in a mix of shock and excitement. What's going on? Emily called out, her heart pounding as she pressed past people to reach the front. Then she saw a bike, a vibrant blue with a shiny basket. It lay crumpled, a few kids kneeling around it, but standing in the center was Lucas, a boy from their neighborhood, with tears streaming down his cheeks. I can't believe this. He cried, pointing at the bike. I just got it for my birthday. Max and Sam pushed through the group, their previous excitement giving way to concern. Emily's stomach dropped. The situation had shifted abruptly from family bonding to a crisis. As she reached Lucas, Emily crouched to meet his eye level. Hey, let's calm down for a second. Can we fix this together? Lucas wiped his eyes, searching her face for hope. But it's broken. I was going to ride it to the park. Max turned to his brothers and then back to their father. Can you help him fix it? He called out, his voice rippling with an eagerness that sparked a newfound urgency. The billion-dollar dad had just stepped into his role, and this was his first test. He elbowed his way through the children, kneeling beside the bike. Hey, Lucas, he said, his voice gentle with a hint of authority. Let us see if we can get this back in shape. With the boys edging closer and the other children surrounding them, Emily felt a flicker of something that had been missing: hope. If he could manage this, maybe it was the first real step in proving himself. Can you help? Max asked, tugging at his father's sleeve. Of course. Let us see what we can do, he answered, refocusing his attention. It was as if he was slipping into a role that felt foreign yet instinctive. He turned to pick up tools from nearby. Everyone, give us a little space, all right? We're going to put this back together. Children shifted, whispering and shifting weight from one foot to another, mesmerized. Max stood closer, eyes wide with admiration as his father crouched down, inspecting the bicycle like a prized possession. The shift in mood was palpable. The boys weren't just watchful, they were participants, assisting, suggesting, emerging as eager allies. Emily felt her heart soften, just a little. Maybe laughter and working together could help heal those old scars. Then, as the dad maneuvered the tire back into place, a sudden crack of laughter broke the tension. Some kids had started to mimic juggling motions, anticipating their talent show. Hey, I can help with that too. The billionaire offered, a newfound spark flickering in his eyes as he orchestrated this moment. Maybe after we fix this, we can do a juggling act for everyone. Laughter erupted, and Emily found herself smiling. She didn't want to admit it, but there was something about watching him work with the kids that was promising. Yet, just as the mood lightened, Emily caught sight of a few familiar faces in the crowd. They exchanged worried looks. Whispers of doubt still lingered, and she knew not everyone felt the same warmth bubbling in her stomach. The past shadowed any glimmer of hope ready to bloom. Max turned to her, excitement written all over his face. Can we really juggle, Mom? Can we? Suddenly, Emily's thoughts spiraled back to the reality of the moment. Could she allow herself to get swept up in this newfound enthusiasm? Maybe, just maybe, it was the start of something meaningful. But as she looked back at her sons, a familiar feeling of dread flickered within her. The heartwarming scene unraveling before her could be shattered in an instant. What if he faltered again? What if the chaos that had just surrounded them grew worse? Emily felt her breath hitch again as she glanced at her boys. Would she risk believing? Would they? As the crash of the bike became distant laughter, her heart whispered a question louder than anything else. Was she ready to embrace the uncertain hope they were building, or should she still guard her heart? And their father, with tools in hand, seemed to embody both promise and heartbreak. It all loomed like a delicate balance waiting to tip. Just then, a sharp voice broke through the laughter. Emily turned. A voice she hadn't expected, the past lurking at the edge of their fragile new beginning. What would she reveal next? The crowd's laughter faded for a moment, replaced by a palpable tension as Emily turned to face the voice that sliced through the warmth. Standing there, arms crossed and brows furrowed, was Tara, a woman from the neighborhood who had once been a close friend before the cracks in their lives widened. What are you doing here? Emily managed to say, her heart thumping hard in her chest. She hadn't seen Tara in years, not since the fallout that had fractured their circle. Lucas, still sniffling, looked from Emily to Tara, confusion knitting his young brows together. Max instinctively stepped closer to Emily, sensing her unease. I came to check on the community event, Tara replied, her tone sharp, almost accusatory. But I didn't expect to see you here, looking all cozy with the boys and him. She shot a glance at their father, who was engrossed in reassembling the bike. Emily could feel heat creeping up her neck. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just I thought you would be better off without him. You've made a real life for yourself. There was a flicker of doubt in Tara's eyes that made Emily's stomach twist. I'm trying, Tara, Emily said, her voice steady, though her mind spun with memories of what had been. We're all trying to make the best of this. Trying? Tara echoed, a cynical smile creeping onto her lips. I see a billion-dollar dad playing handyman, trying to play the good guy. But how long before he disappoints you again? You know who he is. The sting of her words hit hard, igniting Emily's defenses. She opened her mouth to protest, but the look on Tara's face silenced her. There was fear in her eyes, and it felt like a reflection of Emily's own. Wasn't she afraid? Hadn't they both tasted betrayal? Before she could respond, a little voice piped up from the crowd. But he's fixing Lucas's bike. It was Sam, his innocence shining through amidst the tension. And then he's going to juggle. Isn't that cool? The moment stretched, and for a heartbeat, Emily forgot the world outside their bubble. She watched her boys, so full of wonder and excitement. Perhaps there was hope. Tara's expression faltered, and she glanced at Lucas who stood beside her, waiting for assurance. I just worry for you, Emily. You've been through enough. The vulnerability in her tone was unexpected, as though she was reaching out in her own way despite the bitterness. The conflict surged inside Emily between her desire to protect her boys and the undeniable pull toward allowing their father to be part of their lives. Could that really lead to something good? Could this moment lead them to healing she'd long hoped for? Thanks for your concern, Tara, but I'm trying to let him in, Emily admitted finally, the words echoing louder than she had intended. That small act of honesty hung between them, dissolving some of the ice. Letting him in, huh? Tara mused, stepping back as if to reassess the situation. Well, I suppose no one can pretend forever. She was cautious, but now there was a glimmer of uncertainty in her eyes. Just then, a loud clank interrupted the moment as Lucas's bike finally clicked back into place. It's fixed! Their father exclaimed, raising the bike for all to see. Cheers erupted from the surrounding children, laughter filling the air once more. Emily couldn't help but smile, her heart swelling. Perhaps this was a moment she could hold on to, a moment of connection against the noise of doubt. But as she turned back to Tara, ready to bridge the gap between them, the push and pull of emotion weighed heavily on her. Could she trust the journey ahead? Just then, an unexpected figure stepped into the sunlight, drawing everyone's attention. Emily's heart sank. It was her ex-husband, a ghost from the past that jerked her back to reality. Would this be the moment that shattered everything? The crowd fell silent, their cheers fading into an uncomfortable murmur as Emily's heart raced. Her ex-husband stood there, the sunlight glinting off his new suit, an emblem of the life he had chosen, the life she had fought to escape. It felt unreal, it felt like a moment from a bad movie. The anticipation in the air hung heavy, and the laughter of children felt worlds away. Lucas shifted beside Emily, instinctively grasping her hand, while Max stepped forward, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. She could see the recognition wash over both boys. They hadn't seen their father in years, and now he was here. Right when things seemed to be settling. What are you doing here? Emily finally managed to whisper, the words clawing at her throat. She wasn't sure if she was angry, scared, or a little bit of both. He smiled, a well-rehearsed grin that once used to melt her heart but now felt hollow. I heard about the event and thought I'd come by. I didn't expect to see you, he said, turning his eyes toward their sons. Hey, boys. Look at you. Big guys now. Max's shoulders stiffened at the greeting. Lucas remained quiet, staring wide-eyed at the father who had once left them. The hurt and confusion on their faces cut deeper than Emily expected. Maybe this was a mistake, she said shakily, not taking her eyes off him. Maybe you should go. Come on, Emily, he said, his tone sweet but almost mocking. This is a chance for us to be a family again. I've changed. Emily's laughter was brittle. Changed? You think it's that easy? Her voice carried, and the crowd began to murmur again, glances exchanged, some whispers sharp like knives in the tension-filled air. Tara stood frozen, watching the scene unfold, her expression shifting from skepticism to concern. Boys, let us go, Emily said, pulling gently at Lucas's arm. We were having fun, Mom, Lucas interjected, torn between his loyalty to her and the thrill in his father's eyes. Can we just talk? Just for a minute? The request stung, and Emily fought back the tears that threatened to spill. She didn't want her boys to have hope attached to a father who had disappeared once before. But there was a possibility, no matter how small, that she could be wrong, that he may have truly changed. Just a few minutes, Emily, her ex-husband pushed, stepping forward, his smile faltering for a brief moment as he looked at her. I'm here for them and for you. Can we try? It took everything in her not to shake her head, to say no and run away. But she felt the pull of her boy's very real yearning, watching them watch him with a mix of wonder and cautious hope. Could this also be a moment of change for them? Could reconnecting with their father heal the wounds she thought could never close? Tara's voice cut her thoughts as she stepped forward. What's going on here? Isn't just about you, though. It's about the boys. They don't need another disappointment. It felt like a slap, an accusation, yet it resonated within her. Ignoring Tara's words, Emily focused on her sons and the emotions swirling between them. All right, she finally relented, her voice shaky but resolute. 5 minutes, and then we go. Her ex-husband's face lit up, and it hurt to see that joy at the expense of her own unease. Lucas and Max both took a small step toward him, and suddenly, it felt as though they were about to leap from a precipice. As they began walking toward him, Emily's heart thudded with uncertainty. Had she made the right choice? Would this be the moment of reckoning, or the moment when everything fell apart again? And as those thoughts spiraled, she couldn't shake off the creeping doubt curling in her chest. What if her desire for their happiness blinded her to the dangers lurking just beneath the surface? In that instant, she knew they were at a crossroads. Would this reunion bring healing, or would it rupture the fragile thread of resilience they had struggled to weave? Only time would tell, and all she could do was stand there, caught between hope and fear, as the clock ticked down on that fateful 5 minutes. Emily watched as the boys stepped toward their father, their small figures dwarfed by his presence. They had always been curious about the man who had left, about the stories they pieced together from their mother's whispers and their own imagination. But here he was, dressed to impress, ready to spin tales of life beyond their little world. "Dad, where have you been?" Max asked, his voice steadier than Emily expected. The question hung in the air, a delicate line drawn between hope and hurt. "I've been busy, you know how it is," he replied, but there was a hesitation, a fleeting moment where his eyes shifted away from them and back to Emily, as if searching for the right words. Lucas's grip on his brother's hand tightened, nails digging into palms as he squinted up at their father. "Were you busy when Mom needed you?" The question lingered, sharp and poignant, evoking the silent cheers from those who eavesdropped on the conversation. Emily could feel the warmth of pride and the heat of fear trickling down her spine. "Boys, he faltered, the facade cracking under the weight of their honesty. "Look, I'm back now, and that's what matters." "And that's supposed to be enough?" Max countered, frustration etched on his small face. Emily's heart swelled. She had taught them to stand their ground, to not accept half-hearted answers, but now that her sons were pressing for the truth, she felt a wave of anxiety wash over her. They were too young to navigate the complexities of adult choices, too innocent to shoulder the disappointment of a father's absence. The crowd was no longer just a backdrop. She could feel the buzz and the whispers swirling like a tempest, an audience eager for the unfolding drama. Tara stood by her, eyes wide, waiting ready to support or intervene, whichever felt right in the moment. "Let us not do this here," Emily interjected, her voice calm but firm. "This isn't the place. You want to reconnect, don't you? Let us pick a better time." "There's no perfect time, Emily," he shot back, the edge returning to his voice. "I want to talk to them now." Lucas looked at Emily, searching for permission. The innocence of his gaze tore at her heartstrings. "Can we just hear him out, Mom?" he asked softly. "Please." Max remained silent, his mouth set in a thin line, his expression a mix of hope and skepticism, which sent another stab of worry through Emily. Could she really trust this moment? Her breath hitching in her throat, Emily nodded slightly, allowing a small gap for the conversation to flow. As much as she wanted to shield them from pain, she knew they deserved an answer. "Fine," she whispered, each word felt like lead, heavy and burdensome. Just remember, if he lets you down again, I'm here. Always. With a breath, she stepped back, allowing the boys to edge closer to the man who had once filled their lives with uncertainty. The atmosphere shifted, heavy with anticipation as father and son stood together, whispering as memories and truths bled together. I want to be here for you, he said, his voice softer, almost pleading. I want to make up for lost time. Was it sincerity she heard? It felt like both a promise and a threat. The emotions flickered in her chest, hope and fear intertwining like a complicated dance. But all the while, Emily felt the eyes of the crowd watching, their hopes dangerously high, unsure if this was genuine or another show. Just remember, Tara murmured at her side, if he can walk away once, he can walk away again. Emily felt the weight of those words, a gnawing discomfort clawing at her resolve. She found her heart racing as worry for her children deepened. What if they were about to cross into a world of unrealized dreams? As she considered how fragile their new relationship was, she couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was pivotal, but would it be a step forward or another door to heartbreak? A hush fell over the crowd, their faces a mixture of intrigue and concern as they watched the fragile reunion unfold. Emily's breath caught again as she witnessed the boys leaning into their father's words, their small frames still uncertain. She could see hope flickering in their eyes, a light she couldn't bear to extinguish. Dad, really? Max asked, crossing his arms as if protecting himself. What do you mean you want to be here for us? What does that look like? It means I can finally take you to that pizza place you like, he said, attempting a reassuring smile. We can hang out, take trips like I always promised. Trips? Lucas echoed, his brow furrowing. But you promised those before, and you weren't there. Why should we believe you now? The innocence in Lucas's voice made the question hang heavier in the air. Emily felt a twist in her stomach, knowing the stakes were high for all of them. A rush of memories and long-held resentments bubbled to the surface, not just her anger but the hurt that lingered in the hearts of her boys. Because I've changed, he insisted, louder now, desperation creeping into his tone. I'm not the same man who left. I've spent so long thinking about you both, about how I failed you. Emily saw the flicker of doubt cloud over Max's face, the walls he had built around his heart too strong for smooth words and empty promises. Lucas, however, looked at their father, his eyes wide yet vulnerable, as if he were standing on a precipice, ready to leap or retreat. Mom, Lucas turned pleadingly, can't we just give him a chance? Her heart broke again. She admired his hope, his unfaltering belief in the good, but part of her screamed to protect him. Boys, it's not that simple, she said softly, moving closer. You know, trust it takes time. But we want to try. Lucas said, shaking slightly, his small body tense. I want a dad. The weight of his simple wish twisted the knife deeper in Emily's heart. The father's expression shifted, the reality of what his absence had caused settling over him like a dark cloud. I understand, he replied, the hint of a quiver in his voice. I want that too. As the emotional storm raged, Emily felt Tara's hand tighten on her shoulder, a silent reminder of the support nearby. It was a comfort, but the dread of watching her children get let down again clung to her. The murmurs from the watchers faded into a dull roar, but Emily could see the crowd wasn't just observing, they were waiting, rooting for the boys and their father. This wasn't only a family reunion, it was a public spectacle, and the stakes felt impossibly high. Just know, Max finally said, his voice leaf-thin yet resolute, you have to earn us this time. Tension crackled in the air, thick and palpable. Emily was torn. Could they really embrace this second chance? Part of her rooted for their father, hoping he could transform yet again into who they needed. But the shadow of distrust clung to her heart. As the boys hesitantly stepped closer, still hoping, Emily felt the tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She wished she could shield them, but they were learning to navigate their own paths, even if those paths were riddled with uncertainty. Let us try, their father said, a flicker of warmth returning to his voice. One day at a time. With those words, the crowd seemed to gasp as the moment hung suspended in time, filled with potential and peril. But even as hope swelled in her chest, a nagging doubt loomed. Could his intentions be genuine? As the uncertainty stretched on, Emily thought about the fragile bridge they were building, one that could either lead to healing or become a trap of unmet expectations. What if today was just the beginning of an even tougher journey? Would love be enough to mend what had been broken? As the laughter and whispers of the crowd swirled around her, Emily's heart raced with both fear and cautious optimism. Could they truly walk forward together, or was this only a prelude to more heartbreak? The answer teased her mind like a distant echo. The air was charged with a hopeful tension as Emily stood at the crossroads of past pain and future potential. Her boys, eyes shining with a mix of excitement and apprehension, faced their father, a man who had once been a ghost in their lives. The tender moment was laced with uncertainty, but it was a moment nonetheless. Okay, let us start small, Emily finally spoke, her voice steady, yet her heart thumping wildly. Let us focus on being a family today. No promises for tomorrow. Just today. As she said the words, she felt the weight of them, the importance of honesty, of not feeding the boys fairy tales draped in golden hopes. Their father nodded, tension washing over his features. I can live with that. Today, I'll show you both that I'm back, he said softly, extending his hand toward the boys. Max took a step forward, an echo of his young courage. So, where do we start? He asked, genuine curiosity rippling beneath his bravado. Let us go find some pizza, and then maybe some juggling practice, their father suggested, a hint of eagerness dancing in his eyes. The crowd watched with bated breath as the boys glanced at Emily, searching for an unspoken affirmation. She felt her heart squeeze. Go on, she encouraged, pushing back her own fears. Just remember, if it feels wrong at any point, you can come back. I'll be right here. With that, Lucas and Max held their father's hands, stepping forward into uncharted territory. She watched them walk away, the distance seeming to grow with every moment that passed. Would they be okay? Emily Tara began, eyes filled with uncertainty. Are you sure about this? It's not just about you giving him a chance. It's risking the boys' hearts. I know, Emily replied, her chin lifting defiantly. I can't shield them from everything. They deserve a chance to feel what it's like to have a father. If he lets them down again, that's on him. And just like that, the moment transitioned from a secluded gathering to a pivotal act of courage for the whole community. People murmured in agreement or discontent, but the energy was palpable. The heartbeats of the entire neighborhood thrummed as one ready for change, soaked in cautious hope. The atmosphere shifted as laughter erupted, filled with echoes of children enjoying their Saturday under the vast blue sky. As Emily walked back into the community center, her heart steadied by the sight of her trembling family forming again, she didn't even notice Tara slide beside her. Hey, Tara said softly, you didn't have to let him in. You're strong enough to say no. Emily shook her head and half smiled. No one can be entirely strong, Tara. I have to believe in some measure of healing, for me and for the boys. Maybe the past can be woven into something beautiful again. A flicker of something passed between them, understanding, acceptance, even a bit of hope. Just then, the doors swung open again, the vibrant colors of the day rushing in, and in came Jake, his presence instantly uplifting the room. With a sheepish grin, he approached. I heard the commotion across the street. How's it going? Emily felt her heart lighten at his warm energy. It's complicated, but we're taking steps forward, she admitted. What can I do to help? He asked sincerely, his gaze looking to the crowd. She waved a hand, gesturing to the decorations fluttering from the ceiling, still needing to be put up. Let us make today memorable. A barbecue and a talent show. It's time to bring us all together. With renewed excitement lighting her spirit, she turned back to the group. "Hey, everyone! Let us get this celebration started. We have a community to rally around." The tension released, transforming into laughter, shouts of encouragement, and coalescing energy. As they all jumped into action, working together to make the day special, Emily felt hope swell. Families began to unite in laughter and camaraderie, working hand in hand, rekindling a sense of belonging so vital to Maplewood. And in a corner of the community center, surrounded by the buzz of excitement, Emily spotted the boys and their father, all huddled together, sharing pizza while the pool of laughter swelled around them. A surge of warmth flooded through her. Yes, this was what they had fought for. This was community, a tapestry of love, hope, and second chances. As the sounds of happiness enveloped her and her heart lightened, she realized that their journey had only just begun. No one knew how it would play out, but they were in it together. And that was enough for today. It was time to live, to embrace the uncertain, to weave their story anew, one moment at a time. And as tales of transformation echoed through the community and laughter kissed the air, Emily felt a smile spread across her lips. This was a beginning, beautiful, messy, and full of promise. Now, it's your turn to be part of the journey. You need to subscribe now to keep up with the next exclusive stories. And leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every little bit helps us grow. We want to hear from you. Comment below about your reactions to this powerful ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Join us in building this amazing community.